Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you a book review from Hall of Horrors, and it's book number 2, Night of the Giant Everything. I had a blast reading this. If I could imagine what The Incredible Shrinking Fifth Grader would have been from Series 2000 if it never got canceled, I'd hope it would be something like this. I think RL really tapped into that vibe of Series 2000 as well as the Classic 62. This feels like a long-lost Classic 62 book with a little bit of Series 2000 sprinkled in it. And I really enjoyed it. I have to say off the bat before we get into the review, Hall of Horrors very well could be my favorite series of Goosebumps of all time. I've only read 2 books so far, but both books have been amazing. And I just can't wait to finish off the series. I have Claws, The Five Masks of Dr. Scream, Why I Quit Zombie School, and The Birthday Party of No Return. Now, I just can't wait to read these. I can't explain it. I just love this series so much. So anyway, let's get into the review. Let's talk about what this book is about. This book is a really fun, shrinking adventure, and it takes place, in a small everyday town. I think that might be kind of the theme going so far with Hall of Horrors. It can happen to anyone. And I kind of like the refreshing aspect of brand new characters. I like that Stein didn't shove sequels into this series. I like that it was all original stories. But anyway, in this story in particular, you'll read about a kid named Steven. Now, Steven, he kind of has an outdated hobby, which is magic. I don't see much kids doing magic these days. I'm not trying to knock the magic hobby. If you're out there watching and you like magic, that's awesome. I was really into magic when I was a kid. But I haven't even seen a magic kit in stores. And the only time I do see it, it's in like Marshall's, in like the kids' toy section where discounted toys are. But this Steven kid, he's really into magic. He's very flamboyant with his skills. He's a natural savant. He's a natural skilled person, as you'll come to find out. And his friends, Ava and Courtney, give him a hard time because he's so good at what he does. He's kind of arrogant in a way, but he's just that way because he knows he's good. He's also a really talented piano player, as will come in to play in the story, where the first part of this book is kind of setting up the idea that Steven just is this really good magician. And there comes a point where Steven goes to piano lessons after school, and he talks with his piano teacher. And his piano teacher gives him these cookies, and it upsets his stomach, and he goes home because he doesn't feel good. And he comes home to a hawk. Now, hawk's in his house. He doesn't know how a hawk got in there. But the hawk is very well tamed, and the parents say, hey, look, he's a really well tamed bird. You can use him for your act. So Steven says, okay, we'll keep the bird. And he goes to do like a school talent show type of thing, and he shows off the bird. And the bird either bites him or licks him or something like that. And it happens not just once but twice beforehand. And Steven starts not to feel good. He drinks what he thought would be a cup of water, and it turned out he thought it might have been poison. Somebody apparently had poisoned him or something. That was the consternation. And he goes and runs home with his bird. When he gets home, he notices his clothes are falling off. And he's getting smaller. The walls, the imagery in this scene, mind you, is very good. The walls are growing taller. The room is getting bigger. Distance seems longer. It's very well written in the book. And Steven, before you know it, he's 6 inches tall. He has shrunk. And he has no idea what happened. He doesn't know how it happened. He has an inclination that it might have been the thing he had drank beforehand, but he has to figure out what caused it, and he has a suspicion that Ava and Courtney were behind it. So the nearest person that he can go to, I believe, is Ava's house. So he has to go on a mission to get to Ava's house, or call Ava and figure out how to fix the problem. So it goes throughout this adventure inside of the house. There's some really good scenes in here. dealing with the Hawk. Very scary stuff with dealing with the spider. Now, I will say there is kind of a cover continuity error with the spider. I'll put it up here. As you can see, the spider on the cover has green eyes. And this doesn't really bug me all that much, but in the book, it was described as red eyes. And I thought that was kind of ironic and funny. Maybe it was just an error that slipped through the cracks, but anywho. And of course, Stephen has to find clothes to wear because he shrunk out of his clothes. So he has to get clothes off of a Barbie and off a Ken doll, and he had to take one of his dummies' shoes, their little plastic shoes, and he had to dress up like that. And I think they described him as kind of like an 80s, disco, or I don't want to say disco, but like pop dance club hall type of outfit. It was, just imagining it is kind of ridiculous, but he has to get dressed, and then he has to find a way to his phone. And poor Steven, he gets beat and banged up. He has an interaction with his hawk. He has an interaction with this crazy spider thing. And then he has to make the journey to his phone to call Ava. And when he finally calls her, she can't hear a word he says because he's too small. So instead of that plan working, now he's like, well, now I got to find my way out of the house. I got to make my way across the street to Ava's house, and maybe Ava can help me. And then, of course, a bunch of stuff happens. I don't want to spoil it because there's a lot of context that feeds kind of towards the end there. But eventually he makes it to Ava's house after going through some pretty, hardcore things happen to him in this book. And it's pretty, I want to say very graphic, but it's pretty graphic. And you feel for him. You feel his pain when you read. Very rarely in a Goosebumps book do you actually feel sympathy pain from reading what the character is going through. This is one of those. But eventually he makes it to Ava's house. Ava reveals that her and Courtney weren't behind poisoning him. So now he thinks it could have been something else. So he finds his way out of Ava's house by accident, basically. Ava told him to stay put, and she was going to grab her parents, and they were going to take him to the doctor to see what's going on. Well, he gets out of the house, and let's just say he deals with this ordeal with two owls that are pretty petrifying. Just imagining to be that size and have carnivorous birds pick you up like you're just food is terrifying. But eventually he ends up landing after the ordeal right next to his piano teacher's house. And now, mind you, there's something in this piano teacher's house that kind of leads you the wrong way throughout the book. You're gonna think it's the piano teacher might have something to do with it. But I'm not going to say if he really does or not, but it's very suspicious. And what ends up happening, there's a big reveal that happens. The piano teacher takes Stephen back to his house, and then there's a big reveal. And all I'm going to say is, you cannot predict this reveal. I never saw it coming. I never did. I thought it was going to be the piano teacher. It's going to be obviously the piano teacher, but there's a little bit more to it. And after the reveal is done, he figures out the way to get himself back to normal size. There's like an antidote. And then, of course, the problem is resolved, and then the ending happens. And the ending, what you find out what caused him to shrink, kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger saying maybe he's about to shrink again. And that's where the story ends. I had a tremendous time reading this book. I cannot stress it enough. Hall of Horrors is a fantastic series. If you have never read Goosebumps, you need to read this. Fantastic imagery in this book. Stephen is a fun character. I have to say, I like his personality. I mean, he's not my go-to choice for a character, but he's a really good character. I really don't have any negatives about Stephen. The plot flowed very nicely with the pace. The pacing on this book was absolutely excellent. It just threw you in. It gave you a little bit of backstory, but then it just threw you in for the rest of the book. And it's just a wild adventure type book. Has some very scary scenes. Like I said, there's an under the couch scene with a giant spider. That hawk scene. Dealing with the creepy piano teacher's house. That's really creepy. And dealing with that hawk that comes into his house. Very, very jarring stuff. I really enjoyed this. I was surprised that this book was that scary for the type of story it was. And that's a testament to the story. I really enjoyed it. The only drawback I have with this book is, like I said, the dated hobby of magic. I don't know if that's just me. I didn't really identify with that. I'm not going to say it's a total break for the book. It's going to get minimal points deducted, but fairly. I just didn't think that is all that relevant to today, but like I said, I don't mean to offend Magic fans out there. If you like Magic, go for it. It's just, I just didn't see how in today's, kids' hobbies, I don't see how Magic is relevant. That was more of a 90s fad. That kind of shows the age on RL's side there. But it was a really good story. Very good. It had the classic 62 with a blend of Series 2000 feel. Really enjoyed this. So, getting to the points, I'll probably deduct 0.2 for the dated hobby of Magic and bring it down to a 4.8. Realistically, I would definitely give this probably a 5, like on a personal level. Not realistically, but personally, I'll probably give it a 5. But realistically, I'm going to give it a 4.8 out of 5. I think a 4.8 out of 5 is a solid rating for this book. This book is well above average. This is an excellent book. Cannot recommend this enough. And Don't Scream, even though that's still my favorite, got a lower score than this on the realistic grade. I gave that a 4.7. So this one is inherently a little bit better on the grade, even though I like Don't Scream more. But this is still a really good book. Highly recommend this one. And Hall of Horrors in general if you've never read Goosebumps. So, yeah, that was my review of Night of the Giant Everything. Let me know in the comment section. Did you guys love this book or did you hate it? Dying to hear. And I'll see you next time.